Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Cody Johnson with news from around the Columbia Basin for Thursday, April 11th. Tonight we report on a request from Nathan Brooks to see his parents and an increase in pay for Grant County employees. We look at a project to help draw business to the Grant County International Airport and which vegetables are already being harvested here in central Washington. In sports, Moses Lake senior Mackenzie Fancher signed a letter of intent to play college volleyball, and we'll tell you about the Mariners' 2-game losing streak. Our spotlight story tonight is about a Soap Lake girl who outruns all the boys. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Our top story tonight, Nathan Brooks wants to see his parents. The 14-year-old Moses Lake boy is charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in the first degree in Grant County Juvenile Court. Court records didn't explain why Brooks wanted the visitation. The motion filed by Deputy Prosecutor Kevin McKay stated Brooks was requesting visits from his parents who are victims of the crime. Brooks is presently in custody with bail set at $500,000. Prosecutor Angus Lee said, as a general practice, the court will order that a defendant not communicate directly or indirectly with an alleged victim. Brooks' attorney Lily Ann Korcher stated the prosecutor's office never asked for Nathan's parents to be stopped from visiting him. The parents would like to visit their son, according to Korcher. On Monday, a judge will decide if Brooks may see his parents. Grant County employees are getting a 3.25% pay increase this year. Commissioner Cindy Carter said in January the employees hadn't received a pay increase in a while. After months of negotiating, the commissioners have agreements with 4 unions, including Public Works, Courthouse, Juvenile and District Court employees, and expect agreements with 2 more. Commissioners Carol Ann Swartz and Richard Stevens said they agreed to the additional increase. Stevens said the results of the increase should become apparent during budget time. A $4.2 million ramp rehabilitation project is underway at Grant County International Airport. A Federal Aviation Administration grant is funding most of the project, which will rehabilitate a 60-year-old portion of the ramp in order to attract more business to the airport. The FAA pays 90% of construction costs, with the Port of Moses Lake covering the remaining $420,000. The new ramp completes the second phase of the East Terminal Apron project, which allows more accommodations for operations involving larger aircraft weighing up to 1 million pounds. The first phase cost approximately $2 million. Construction is expected to last about 60 days. The first month of dredging Moses Lake went well, according to Moses Lake Irrigation and Rehabilitation District officials. The district began the 3rd year of its project to remove sediment from the Parker Horn section of the lake in March. Dredge operator Chris Wilson reported on the progress of the project Tuesday, saying they averaged about a 10-foot depth. The project is aimed at removing a portion of the sediment which has flowed into the lake because of the Columbia Basin project. When the irrigation project starts, it carries soil with it until it reaches Moses Lake. Engineers explain that as the water slows, it drops the sediment into the lake, creating an island at Parker Horn. The Moses Lake City Council received some good news about volunteers in the city. Here with the story is Ryan Lancaster.
Volunteerism was on display at the Moses Lake Council meeting Tuesday. Ernie Lang and Andy Martin were recognized for donating hundreds of pounds of salvaged and processed meat to the Moses Lake Food Bank. Local outdoors writer Dennis Clay said they're doing a big service for people in need who often have a hard time getting fresh game. The men volunteered to process fish, deer, and other game provided by the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, food that Captain Chris Anderson says would have otherwise been wasted.
When I came here 15 years ago, we had no way of disposing of animals that were either stuck in the canals or poached.
Food Bank Finance Manager Scott Kilpatrick commended the men for processing as much as 1,200 pounds of meat over the years.
What community is each one of us having special skills and talents that we can bring to the table to help our neighbors in need. And you two have exemplified bringing your skills and talents to our table. And because of that, you've brought a lot of meat to the table of people that otherwise couldn't afford to buy meat. So thank you.
Moses Lake Mayor Bill Eckert also read a proclamation recognizing April 21 through 27 as American Red Cross National Volunteer Appreciation Week. Local Red Cross volunteers accepted the proclamation before inviting residents to attend a volunteer orientation at the Grant County Fairgrounds Grange Hall next Tuesday, April 16 at 5 p.m. For iFIBER 1 News, this is Ryan Lancaster reporting.
Thanks, Ryan. Each of the people you see here have warrants for their arrest and are wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks you not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. We'll be right back after these messages with the latest from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center, and we've got sports and more news on the way.